Good morning and welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for February 23rd, 2022. Before we begin today, I'd like to mention some good news. The state's positivity rate is now in the 2% range. Mask mandates are falling county by county, along with the state's indoor mask mandate. I expect some operational changes at the commission in the coming months. So I would just ask those who practice before the commission to watch this space as we adjust to changes in our public health environment. Additionally, I have some exciting news to report. This is more inside baseball for those who watch the commission very closely, but over the course of the past 3 years, the commission has embarked on a very aggressive IT project to improve its complaint data management system. This is with respect to online complaints that are filed with the Consumer Affairs Division. After working through two of our CAD directors, Casey Brent and Stephanie Bolton, and with a very able IT staff led by Mars Wu and Dave Collins, I'm happy to announce that yesterday on 2/22/22, the system has launched. This will serve Maryland utility customers who have concerns with their customers. It'll also provide the commission with some new data sets and tools that it didn't previously have using its legacy system. So I would just like to congratulate all that have had a hand in the CDMS, as well as the public who can now actually start using, effective yesterday, this new online portal. We do have meeting minutes to approve from our last meeting 2 weeks ago, February 9th, 2022. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 24 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is a notification from BCM1 Inc. and Wholesale Carrier Services Inc. of issuance of certain indebtedness. Item number 2 is a notification from Dominion Energy Solutions Inc. of a name change and membership interest change. Items number 3 through 7 are updated standard offer service rates from Delmarva Power and Light, Potomac Electric Power Company, Potomac Edison Company, and for items 5 and 6, and Baltimore Gas and Electric Company for item 7. Items 8 through 22 are various individual applications for certification of geothermal heating and cooling renewable energy facilities. Item number 23 is a notice from Star Power Communications LLC, DBA RCN, of its intent to operate under new business names. And item number 24 is an unbundled network element loop forbearance amendment to interconnection agreements between Verizon Maryland LLC and Comcast Phone of Northern Maryland, Inc.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions on these items? Hearing none, with respect to item number 1, I move that we note the Wholesale Carrier Services Incorporated and BCM1 Incorporated's participation in their parent company's financing transaction. With respect to item number 2, I move that we note the filings. With respect to items 3, 4, 6, and 7, that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of March 1st, 2022. With respect to item number 5, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2022. With respect to items number 8 through number 22 inclusive, I move that we approve the respective applications and issue renewable energy facility certification numbers and energy savings estimates. That we direct the respective applicants to establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days of certification and file a geothermal and thermal biomass generation report with the commission within 1 week of each recording of generation data with GATS of RECs created, and direct the respective applicants to file notice with the commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in its respective applications. With respect to item number 23, I move that we note the company business name changes and accept the tariff for filing with an effective date of March 16, 2022. And with respect to item number 24, I move that we approve the interconnection agreement amendment 10 days after a 30-day comment period unless adverse comments are filed. The vote begins with Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions are approved. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, item number 25 on the administrative agenda is a request from Forefront Power LLC for a waiver of the operational deadline for its Morris Community Solar Project. On this item, for staff, we have Annette Garofalo, and for the company, Eric Wallace, Kelsey Crane, and Brian Malashevsky.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff. By letter dated January 31, 2022, Forefront Power LLC requested that the Commission waive COMAR 20-6203-04C and extend the operational deadline for Forefront's Morris project located in Queen Anne's County in the Delmarva Power and Light Company's service territory. The request is for an extension from February 25th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. The Morris project is a 7.7 megawatt project in the open category. Forefront first met with Queen Anne's County officials in November 2018 and submitted its concept plan and Board of Appeals application to the county in April 2019. Other required reports were submitted throughout 2019, and the Morris project application package was approved by the Planning Commission in November 2018. However, due to delays caused by COVID-19, applicant did not receive its conditional use permit, the next step in the process, until February 24th, 2021. Today, applicant's final major site plan is before the Planning Commission. However, this review is taking longer than expected, and approval may not be final until April 2022. A project that fails to begin operating within 36 months of application must be removed from the electric company's pilot program Q under COMAR 20-6203-04C2. The only exception to this 36-month period under the regulations are failure of the utility to allow a completed project to operate or a pending legal challenge. However, under COMAR 20-6201-04, the Commission may waive a regulation in subtitle 62 for good cause shown. Attachment 1 of the applicant's request shows the permitting and construction work remaining on the Morris project. Applicant expects construction to begin in August. This is a relatively small project, and it appears that applicant is presenting a reasonable projected timeline. Staff concludes that applicant has met the requirements of COMAR 20-6202-04 and recommends that the requested waiver that it would extend to December 31, 2022 be granted as it applies to Forefront Power LLC's Morris project, thereby extending the operational deadline for this project to December 31, 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Garofalo. Good morning, Mr. Wallace.
Hey, good morning, Chairman Commissioners. Eric Wallace with the law firm Green Herlocker on behalf of Forefront Power LLC. And as staff counsel introduced, I'm joined by Brian Malashevsky and Kelsey Crane, who are with the project management team for Forefront working on this project. I wanted to start by thanking staff and the Commission for their efforts to hear this matter today in advance of our upcoming deadline later this week. And I appreciate staff's report and recommendation there. The only update that I'd like to make is that when we filed our request at the end of January, we were planning on submitting the final plan for approval in the first couple weeks of February. During the course of this month, there's been a couple additional items that have been addressed with that, and we expect to have that filed later this week. So in terms of the projected timeline, we don't see any of the other dates being impacted by that, but did want to make that slight update. And with that, we're available to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Do commissioners have questions on this application? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Just a quick question, and not necessarily for this application, but have any of these projects completed by their originally scheduled operational deadline, Ms. Garofalo? Any of them? Does everyone get an extension? Do you get an extension, you get an extension, you get an extension, you get an extension?
Is that addressed to me, Your Honor?
Yes.
Well, I think that I have recommended some denials, but I think they have all been, every request for a deferral has been granted. I would have to be
Understood.
absolutely certain, I'd have to go back and check.
Understood. Some over my objections. I understand that. But my question is, has anyone not asked for an extension?
Oh, yes, there are stations that are operating, and that went into operation without a request for an extension. I would have to look to see exactly how many of those. There are about 30 operating, and I feel certain that some of those did not ask for an extension.
It'd be interesting for me and maybe other commissioners to know how many of those 30 operational projects actually met their original obligation.
We can find that out for you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I would move that we grant the requested waiver to extend the operational deadline for the company's Morris project to December 31st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Linton,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 26 is a request from Delmarva Power and Light Company for an extension of the Elk Neck Energy Storage Project's operational deadline. On this item, for staff, we have DeAndre Wilson and Michael Dean. For the company, Matt Seegers and Heather Roberts. And for the Office of People's Counsel, Irene Wiggins.
Thank you. Good morning to our staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Mr. Wilson, we could hear you. We can't see you, but we could hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
There we go. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. DeAndre Wilson here on behalf of staff, speaking on the extension request from Delmarva Power. On October 15th, 2020, Delmarva Power and Light Company filed its Elk Neck Energy Storage Pilot Project pursuant to Commission Order number 89240, case number 9619, which established an energy storage pilot program in accordance with the Energy Storage Pilot Project Act. On November 6, 2020, the Commission approved Delmarva's energy storage project by order number 89664, subject to the general conditions specified in the order, and an operational start date of February 28th of 2022. On January 18th, 2022, Delmarva filed a request for extension of the project operational deadline for its Elk Neck Energy Storage Pilot Project to July 31st, 2022 for good cause because of unanticipated project development delays due to the increase of COVID-19 cases related to the Omicron variant, the seasonal nature of several Elk Neck customers, and severe winter weather. The company has not reported any incremental costs and determined that the project will not exceed its already approved 50% contingency funding. Therefore, there will be no impact to its primary value streams as a result of the delay. Should the Commission not approve the company's extension request, the total stranded cost for the project is estimated at approximately $1.56 million, or 39% of the total project budget, based on what DPL is contractually obligated to pay its vendor as of January 31st of 2022. That concludes staff's presentation. Our staff recommends that the Commission approve the requested operational date extension to July 31st, 2022 for Delmarva's Elk Neck project for good cause. Staff would also like to mention that OPC has filed comments as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And we will turn to Office of People's Counsel. Good morning, Ms. Pugh.
Good morning, Commissioners. Daria Pugh on behalf of OPC. Like in previous deadline extension requests in case number 9619, OPC does not oppose Delmarva's request for an extension for the Elk Neck Virtual Power Plant Energy Storage Project. OPC recognizes that Delmarva has provided good cause for the delay for reasons that were out of the company's control. OPC wanted to note that we are concerned that Delmarva may need a subsequent request because based on the data provided, Delmarva has only completed 9 of the batteries out of the only completed installing 9 batteries out of the 110. As such, OPC reserves the right to oppose any future operational deadline extension requests based on similar rationales.
Thank you, Ms. Pugh, and as always, your rights are reserved. We will turn to counsel for the utility, Delmarva Power and Light.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matthew Seegers appearing on behalf of Delmarva Power. I have nothing to add to staff's book sheet, but I'm available if you have any questions on that. I would like to respond to one portion of OPC's comments where they refer to about why Delmarva Power and Sunverge did not know until January of this year that there were a significant number of customers in this area that may not have, that were not going to be in town until the spring. OPC's comments seem to suggest that this project has not been a priority for Delmarva Power or its vendor, and that is absolutely not the case, Your Honor. Beginning with the Commission's approval of this project in November of 2020, the first thing that Delmarva Power and the vendor had to do was to reach agreement on a contract. And we did so by April the 9th, and that is contemplated by the statute itself. The statute actually gave us until April the 15th, and so we beat that date, Your Honor. Then after that, our vendor was developing the marketing materials, and those were ready by June of 2021, and that is when we actively went out and began to market this project to customers. That included some door-to-door efforts where those were hampered a little bit by COVID, but we did begin to get customer interest, and our vendor did respond to that interest where they contacted the customer. Each one of those customers then had to go through the enrollment process where they had to complete the necessary paperwork. There were some customers that were more responsive than others. And then once the customers, they completed the paperwork, then our vendor began contacting them to conduct site visits. And that is when, in a number of cases, our vendor was told by the customer, well, I'm out of town until March, why don't you come back then? So I just want to make sure that the record is clear that we did not actually have a full year beginning from November of 2020 in order to find out that there were customers who may not have been in town. So I just want to clarify that. And also I have some updated numbers for the commission. As of February 21st, we've completed 15 battery installations, and we have an additional 20 scheduled. So with that, I have no further comments, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Seegers. I do have some questions along the lines of the topic that you just discussed. But in terms of overall numbers, 15 completed, 20 scheduled, what's the target number?
It's 110, Your Honor.
Okay. And that's every home in Elk Neck, basically.
I do not know if it's every home in Elk Neck, Your Honor, but it's a decent number of them, Your Honor.
Partly the reason for selecting Elk Neck is that it's a sort of a small town in the middle of nowhere, sitting in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay, effectively. The utility knew well going into this that this was likely seasonal occupants. Is that true?
I do not know that, Your Honor. I know that our vendor has indicated that that it was not until January of this year that it became apparent that a number of customers were not going to be around until the spring of this year that would enable the site visits and the installations.
And these batteries require a site visit, and they require entry into the homes of the customers. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And where are they typically installed inside of the homes?
I'm going to have to I'm sorry, Your Honor, go ahead.
I'm trying to get a sense, are these the size of toasters or the size of vehicles? And are they in the garage, the attic, outdoors?
We have our subject matter expert on the line, Ms. Heather Roberts. I'm going to defer to her in terms of where these batteries are going to be installed and roughly how big they are.
Thank you. Hello, Ms. Roberts. Did you understand the question?
Yes, so the batteries are typically installed in the basement or in the garage. And they're roughly, I'd say, about 2 feet by 3 feet and only maybe 5 inches in depth.
2 feet by 5 inches. Okay, all right. And Ms. Roberts, the plan is to install 110 of these effectively. I was taking a look at the map. It looks like there's only about 100 homes, so about 110 homes on the Elk Neck Peninsula. Is that correct?
So on the Elk Neck Peninsula, we were targeting south of Elk Neck State Park. And within that community, there are roughly 300 homes. So we were targeting a third of the customers in that pocket.
Okay. It doesn't look like 300 to me south of the state park. It does look closer to 100, but my eyes could be deceiving me here. So some of these customers may just refuse to have the battery installed in their home. That's a possibility.
That's correct. Some customers have reached out and expressed interest, but after going through the program itself, it's not the right decision for them. So not everyone that we have spoke to participated in the program.
Ms. Roberts, we're having a little difficulty with your microphone. What is the total threshold that we need to meet in order to make the statistics of this pilot project statistically significant? So we have 15 down, 20 in processing. That leaves 80 or so that we still need to have the customers agree to have these batteries installed. Obviously, 110 is your target, but are we going to get there with only 20 contracts under pending negotiation?
Yes, we feel confident that we will reach the 110 customers installed by the July date. We have 20 that are scheduled to be installed, but we have around 70 who are already signed with customer agreements. They have their applications for approval and are ready to go. It's working with them to get a date on it. So, although
Okay. Just to be clear, then we do have close to 100 customers who have committed.
yes, we have closer to 100 customers that have expressed interest and are committed to the project.
Okay. Thank you. I do think People's Counsel, Ms. Pugh, does raise some concerns regarding timetable and slippage. Obviously, COVID didn't help. The fact that this is a seasonal community doesn't help at all. But hopefully, as the weather returns and people start returning to their second homes, we could have more aggressive outreach to whomever else we need to make this project a success. I'll turn to my colleagues, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Seegers, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you, Your Honor?
I'm good. How long is the extension you're requesting?
It is until the end of July of this year, Your Honor, which my understanding is that even if this extension is granted, this will be the first of the storage projects, at least for the Exelon companies, to become operational.
Okay, so roughly 4 to 5 months?
It's about 5 months, Your Honor.
About 5 months. One of the reasons for good cause that you proffer in your filing is because of the severe weather conditions this winter. How many days did you lose in this project because of severe weather conditions?
Again, Your Honor, I'll have to defer to Ms. Roberts. I know that the January snowstorm did not help matters. Heather, do you know the answer to that question?
For that particular snowstorm, I believe it was around a week worth of time that was lost because, 5 business days, since we're not really operating
I
on the
don't think we
weekends
lost
there.
that much time here at the commission. We're in the same general vicinity, the same neck of the woods.
I think the difficulty with that region is the remote nature there, and access became difficult. And then with schools being delayed or not open, then customers had also rescheduled and didn't want it to be installed that week as well.
5 days out of 5 months. I have a hard time buying weather delays. That'd be like us at the commission saying we were gonna not meet our statutory obligation to issue an order because of severe weather. That's just not plausible to me, and I'm not sure that part of your filing is good cause.
Additional questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following on, my understanding is you're still short, the project is still short of the 110, I guess, potential participants. Is that still the case, or have you been able to recruit, I guess, the additional participants needed?
Commissioner, to answer your question, I believe as of right now, we had 104 expressions of interest. That currently is now 95, primarily because in some cases there was multiple expressions of interest from the same household. Maybe a husband and wife, they both expressed interest. So obviously that can only count as one. We had some customers drop out, but we do not anticipate having any issues signing up 110 customers and getting the batteries installed by the end of July. If that answers your question, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah, that's the question. I just share some of the concerns raised by OPC and, the ability of the company and its contractor to meet the July 31st deadline is, was called into question. But you feel you do have the 110 signed up and ready to go.
We don't have them yet, Your Honor, but we're confident that we will get them and have the batteries installed.
Okay, good. Well,
deadline.
I will hope to see a ribbon cutting on July 31st. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We hope for sooner, Your Honor, but thank you very much.
Great, thanks.
110 ribbon cuttings, apparently. So we'll, I guess we'll see for ourselves how rural Elk Neck is. Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we approve the requested operational date extension to July 31, 2022 for the company's Elk Neck project for good cause pursuant to Public Utilities Article Section 7-216H6, Romanet 2. The vote begins with Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 27 consists of tariff revisions from the Potomac Edison Company, updating its company-owned public vehicle charging station rates in compliance with order number 90036 and case number 9478. On this item for staff, we have Drew McAuliffe and Michael Dean, and for the company, Jeffrey Trout.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. McAuliffe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. On January 20th, 2022, Potomac Edison filed revisions to its company-owned public EV charging station rates, Schedule EVP. These rates have been filed to comply with Commission Order number 90036, issued January 11th, 2022. PE first proposed this rate change in its September 15th, 2021 semi-annual EV pilot filing, which the Commission approved in Order number 90036. This revision will increase the level 2 charging rate from a range of 12 cents to 16 cents per kilowatt hour to 21 cents to 25 cents per kilowatt hour, and increase the DCFC charging rate from a range of 25 cents to 30 cents per kilowatt hour to 31 cents to 34 cents per kilowatt hour. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the tariff revisions as filed with an effective date of March 1st, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Council for the utility, Potomac Edison.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Jeffrey Trout for Potomac Edison. We agree with staff's analysis and are available to try to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I found the analysis to be reasonable. I turn to my colleagues if they have any questions for these rate changes for L2 and L3 charging stations. Seeing none, I would move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of March 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 28 consists of updated distribution rate offsets from Potomac Electric Power Company and its Economic Relief and Recovery Rider under order number 89868 and case number 9655. On this item for staff, we have David Hoppick, Jamie Smith, and Annette Garofalo. For the company, Matt Bonikowski, Shalina Merchant, Jonathan Lyman, and Doug McKeel. And for Office of People's Counsel, Daria Pugh.
Thank you. We'll begin with staff. Good morning, Mr. Hoppick.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. David Hoppick on behalf of Commission staff. On January 27th, 2022, Potomac Electric Power Company, or PEPCO, filed its proposed rate year 2 and rate year 3 MYP offsets for its ongoing multi-year rate plan under Rider ERR. PEPCO proposes to offset 25% of its combined rate year 1 and rate year 2 revenue requirements for rate year 2 of its MYP, which begins April 1st, 2022. Staff notes that this is the same level of electric revenue offset approved for rate year 2 in Baltimore Gas and Electric Company's MYP. Staff recommends that the Commission accept PEPCO's rate year 2 offsets, which result in similar residential bill impacts in rate years 2 and 3, assuming no rate year 3 offset. Regarding rate year 3 offsets, staff recommends that the Commission direct PEPCO to revise its Rider ERR tariff to require PEPCO to make a filing at least 90 days prior to the end of rate year 2 to allow the Commission to determine what level of offsets, if any, are needed for rate year 3. Additionally, staff recommends that the Commission direct PEPCO to work with staff and OPC to review its proposed electronic communications with customers regarding its rate year 2 offsets. Staff does not have recommended changes to PEPCO's proposed bill insert language. Staff is available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppick. You're getting comfortable with these cases on the heels of the BGE order. We'll turn to Office of People's Counsel. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. This is Nikki Wiggins on behalf of Office of People's Counsel. As stated in our filed comments, we appreciate that PEPCO took the initiative to schedule a pre-filing meeting with OPC to give us the opportunity to discuss this proposal. We have no issue with PEPCO's year 2 proposed offsets, and we recommend that the Commission does adopt those. These are substantially similar, as staff pointed out, to those that OPC proposed and the Commission adopted in BGE's second year of their multi-year rate case. We also support staff's recommendation that PEPCO be directed to file a proposal for year 3 offsets at least 90 days before the end of year 2, and the Commission can adjudicate at that time whether those would be appropriate. And finally, we appreciate staff's recommendation that PEPCO work with both OPC and staff on any electronic communications that they might send out to their customers, and we express our willingness to collaborate to that end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. Cooperation between OPC and the utilities has seemed to be in short supply recently, so I'm very happy to hear that the agency and the utilities are working together. I'll next turn to the utility, counsel for the utility.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Doug McKeel on behalf of PEPCO. I don't really have anything to add other than we appreciate the staff working with us and OPC working with us. We will certainly run by the electronic communication that we plan on sending out to customers with both the Office of People's Counsel and the staff. We do have a team of folks here who are happy to answer any of the questions that the Commission may have, or I will take a stab at answering those.
Thank you, Mr. Mike Keel. I recognize that even though the Pepco case is effectively a year behind the BGE multi-year rate case, we lose a few months in attempting to hit the April 1st target, so all the future years are aligned. Since our decision here is very consistent with the earlier decision just a few months ago with respect to the tax credit for BGE and our disposition there, I am very comfortable with this decision, recognizing that Pepco customers will experience a rate increase effective April 1. I turn to my colleagues for questions, beginning with Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mike Keel, good morning. How are you today?
I am living the dream. Good morning to you, sir.
Glad to hear it. See if you still think so after this.
Okay. I'm sure I will.
You know, of course.
I'm sure I will.
So I read the buck sheet and staff wrote that the company had provided the bill insert language, and that it needed to be approved by today so that it could get printed and get out. But they didn't really give the language, but they referred to it in the data request. So I went to the data request and I looked at question number 2 on data request number 1. Do you have that?
I do not have that with me, sir. Oh,
right.
Hold on here. Yes, I do. I apologize.
So that's not really what you're going to print in your bill insert, is it?
The BG&E language?
Yeah.
No, sir. It'll be similar, but it will be for Pepco.
Okay, because, it said.
No, we would not use a BG&E insert. We would have the dates corrected and Pepco in there.
Yeah, okay. So the dates need to be corrected and Pepco.
Yes, sir.
There and
No
all that.
question about that.
All right. Very
Excuse
good.
me. Mr. Commissioner, if I could jump in, this is Matt Bonikowski. The DR response 1-2, that was BGE's language. If you turn to 1-3, that was the draft language for Pepco's bill inserts. And we had provided 2 scenarios there, depending on whether offsets were or were not approved.
Oh, okay. Very good. I see it. Thank you, Mr. Bonikowski. That's helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
And that was
Thank
attached
you.
to staff's buck sheet.
It is, and I see it. I didn't realize it was there. So very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to piggyback on Commissioner O'Donnell's question, both the staff and the People's Council have requested the opportunity to review the communications that will be sent out to customers. So we're talking about a very short window here. So help me to understand what's the perception or the plan here. How's this how's this review or interaction going to happen so that it's actually something that's effective and not just a rubber stamp or a thumbs up, thumbs down type of thing?
Right. I'll turn that over to Mr. Bonikowski, and I believe we've already reached out, but I'll let him answer.
Yes. So provided that we have a decision today on the level of bill offsets approved, our internal marketing communications teams will draft those electronic communications. They have told me they can have those drafted by end of week. And then we would reach out to staff and OPC to set up a review meeting with them, hopefully sometime next week, depending on their availability. And we would take on board any feedback that they have. If a second meeting is needed based on any comments, we would have that. And then we had committed in our filing to, within 14 days of an order, beginning to send out those electronic communications.
Okay. So just from the staff and the People's Council, is that process something that you were envisioning as part of your request to be a part of the communications development?
Yes, Your Honor. That's very similar to what we did with BGE, where they sent us the communications, and then there were edits proposed by both staff and OPC that ultimately BGE accepted. So yes, I think that will work.
At OPC, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had. Thanks for your responses.
Well, it sounds like we have a relative agreement on the communications strategy. Again, my thanks to staff, OPC, and Pepco for working together. You don't have a lot of time, but you do have some time to make sure the communications to customers get right. I know Pepco customers, like BG customers, took a look at that federal tax credit, and as it gets phased out, they'll wonder where it's going or why their bill impact is increasing. So with
Mr. Chairman, before we take a vote on this, can I just say I appreciated that the communications that the company had, kind of giving a heads up before the filing was made that it was on its way, and I appreciated that. Thank you to the company.
With that, I would move that we accept the company's proposed rate year 2 offsets, that we direct the company to revise its rider ERR tariff to require the company to make a filing at least 90 days prior to the end of rate year 2 to revise its rider ERR, that we direct the company to submit clean copies of its tariff, and finally, that we direct the company to work with staff and Office of People's Counsel to review the proposed electronic communications with customers regarding the rate year 2 offset. The vote begins with Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
And we're missing Commissioner Herman today. She is on leave, so it's confused my batting order. I vote aye. The motion is approved. Later on today at 1 o'clock, the commission will convene in a case regarding the unified benefit cost analysis. For those parties who are interested, tune into our YouTube at 1 p.m. Eastern today. With nothing else remaining on the commission's agenda, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.